Hi, good evening. Welcome to Reverend Sherri's Metaphysical Bible Hangout. I'm Reverend Sherri James, Senior Minister of Understanding Principles for Better Living Church. And I am so excited to be here. We're in the middle of a series called Empower the Giant Within You. And this series is based on Imelda Shanklin's text, What Are You?, which is an incredible text, and just in love with this woman, in love with this text. I put on my Facebook page at some point that she's like my new Woman Crush Wednesday. She is just, literally every sentence I'm underlining in every chapter. She's just fantastic. This series is all about living the life that Spirit intended, and I want to help you to claim your spiritual inheritance, to develop the spiritual poise that comes with knowing what you are, to remove the mental and emotional blocks to your full self-expression. And we started this on October 17th, and we're continuing on through November 12th. I'm sorry, September 17th. Goodness, the time has been flying. September 17th, and we're continuing on to November 12th. So this is our outline for tonight. I've got a couple of announcements, and then we'll do our opening prayer. We'll get into why spiritual identity matters. We'll talk about what are you, and then we'll look at what is your purpose, because that's what this lesson tonight is about. What is your purpose? What are you living for? And are you serving others? And then what to do once you know your purpose, and then the 5 guidelines for living your purpose. I invite you to follow along on the blog. I always write a companion piece at revsherri.com, and today is 5 principles for living your purpose the right way. 5 principles for living your purpose the right way. So know your purpose is what we're going to be talking about tonight, and that's what we talked about on the blog today. Our platform is Webinar Jam, and with this platform, you will need to be a part of my newsletter, because it means, in order to find out about the information differently than I used to. So make sure that you are go right to revsherri.com. And I actually have a new free email course, and so if you'd like to take that email course, you can take it. It's free. And it is about how to permanently eliminate emotional ruts. So if there is some type of emotional pain in your experience that you are looking to get rid of, or to just alleviate in your experience, you want to definitely sign up for that free course. Coming November 1st, Reverend Dr. Sheila McKeithen will be in Los Angeles, and she will be speaking at Up Church's Panorama Truth, at Up Church's Worshiping in Color. And what Worshiping in Color is about, it is my tag for this event is Love, Praise, and Transform. What this event is about is really a new thought party for our community, and I'm so excited because it really is bringing together all of the New Thought churches, or as many of them as I can get together, in the Southern California area. So we have put the call out to members of Divine Science, Religious Science, or Centers for Spiritual Living, Unity churches, and then other independent New Thought ministries. So I am so excited because this Sunday is going to be an incredible Sunday. This is November 1st. If you are in the Los Angeles area or in Southern California, even if you're in Carlsbad or San Diego, I encourage you to just drive on up to LA. If you're in Santa Clarita, drive on down. It is going to be transformative. Reverend Sheila is coming. She will actually be delivering the Sunday address on that Sunday. And those of you that have not heard her, you're in for a treat. Trust me, this is not the event that you want to hear about. This is the one that you want to be in town for. So I encourage you to make your plans and to join us on November 1st. It's going to be fantastic, amazing, beyond that, beyond whatever you imagine great is, like kick that up by 1,000%. I cannot over tell you, like, you know how sometimes people can they can tell you something and they'll be like, oh, this is okay. This won't be that event. This won't be that event. Trust me. She is that incredible. That incredible. So be there, or be disappointed, or be sad that you're seeing it on Facebook. All right, the scripture for this series, there are two of them. John 10:34, is it not written in your law, I said you are gods? And Genesis 1:26, let us make humankind in our image according to our likeness and let them have dominion. This entire series is about your true spiritual identity, who you really are. And so if you would just take a moment to relax and open your heart and your mind to the truth that you are the living Son of the living God, that the mind of God flows through your mind, pouring itself into expression through your mind. What an awesome responsibility. Father, Mother God, we come together today in this evening, just gathered and together and looking to learn and be and do and have more. We are so ready to be the divine creation that you designed us to be. We're so ready to live fully in this divinity. And we just ask with sincerity to teach us to be the spiritual giants that we are. Thank you so much for the exchange this evening. Thank you for everything that will be said, every question that will be asked. Thank you so much for every breakthrough that will happen this evening. I affirm that this is a powerful session, and I thank you for the anointing to teach this information in the name and through the power that is in the name of the one that is called the Christ. We affirm that this prayer is so, and that's how we'll let it be. Amen. Why your spiritual identity matters. Okay, this is the card we see every week, and I try to come at this at a different way every week. You are a soul that has forgotten its divine identity. A soul now struggling to remember in the midst of time and in the confusions of experience that you are the living Son of the living God. There is something that she writes on page 94, and I think that it is just pure fire. And again, I told you, I love the way that this woman expresses. She is just incredible. I'm going to look to see if I have any comments. No. Okay, got it. Myra asked, and I think somebody else asked, will it be recorded? Yes, the Reverend Sheila's sermon absolutely will be recorded. We do not have live streaming yet for Upchurch, so it really is going to be a recording that we upload. But as you know, that is nothing compared to the live experience. Okay, this is what she writes, and this is in regards to your spiritual identity. The thief never enters the house whose strong man knows himself to be a son of God. You never will be touched by direct or indirect suggestion after you have regained spiritual consciousness. The bonds that the thief would fasten on you are as ropes of water that spill out of his hands. You remain unfettered. In other words, when you know who you are, nobody can touch you. They may come at you, but they cannot touch you. The only reason that you get tossed and fro by the people who say things about you is because you don't know who you are. But when you understand who you are, you can stand flat-footed, square-jawed, and look whatever it is in the face, unmoved emotionally. I'm not talking about indifference, because I know that look where you got your pose on, like, you know, don't nothing bother me, and then on the inside you twisting and turning. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm talking about where it genuinely does not find you. And the only reason that it can find you is you don't know who you are. Your spiritual identity is that important. And you have got to be able to stand on it, because as you move through life, as you moved into your extraordinariness, there will be people who are anchored and who believe that it's okay to be ordinary. And you being extraordinary is going to shine a light on the fact that they're only being ordinary. Now, it doesn't change the fact that they are extraordinary too, but they do not yet know who they are. And you, knowing who you are, have got to be able to stand and face whatever it is that seems to have your attention. So the example that I have for this week, I always try to find somebody who exemplifies the lesson, and the person who exemplifies the lesson best to me. You see, I had a typo. I used the previous week's handout or I should say handout, but a PowerPoint to create it, and I didn't change the name. This is not Oprah Winfrey. This is the Reverend Dr. Delarice Lett, my spiritual mother, my teacher, my predecessor, the person who taught me what I know. She always says, sometimes you have to go through stuff to get to your stuff. I have watched this woman be betrayed, stepped on, talked about. When she was getting ready to be ordained, the committee of people that were ordaining her did not want to give her her license for being a minister, because they felt like the fact that she was an actress, that they didn't believe that she was sincere about the truth that she had learned through working with Johnny Coleman and the work that she was doing to build the church, which I'm now the senior minister of. And they basically tried to block her from becoming a licensed minister through the UFBL. This is fact. And you could sugarcoat it, but the truth is that there were people who just flat out doubted her. They felt like it was a vanity thing with her. I also watched her go through like different changes with the church, where there was a point at which you come to Upchurch, you couldn't get a seat. You had to get there 15 minutes early because there was not room in the church for you to sit. Now, it's so different now because we've gone through several changes and we're in a rebuilding phase now. But there was a point where you could not get people in the door, and it just, over time, through different moves and through different changes with the church, the membership fell off over different times. And we had this huge marketing engine with Touched by an Angel, where on a Sunday we could have 100 visitors, and that, which was just amazing. And there were people coming from all over the world that wanted to see Delarice, wanted to see this church, and they came and they came and they came, and then Touched by an Angel went off the air, and slowly over time the numbers just kind of fell off here and there, fell off. And I watched her continue to show up every Sunday as if there were the same hundreds and hundreds and thousands of people that were there when the church first started. So you have to be able to stand in the face of because you don't know what your consciousness is going to bring about. You don't know what things you have to go through to get to your ultimate overcoming. You don't know what those things are. And so you have got to be able to stand flat-footed and to continue to show up with your very best. And she would continue to preach for 2 people as if there were 200 people, or 4 people as if there were 4,000 people. You have got to be able to stand. But if you don't know who you are, then if it's 4 people, you show up like there's 4 people. If it's 10,000 people, you show up like there's 10,000 people. But you show up based on what's going on outside of you, not what's happening inside of you. So this is why you've got to get clear on what your spiritual identity is. And the thief is all the things that come in. In this instance, the thief is the dwindling membership. The thief is the committee that doesn't want to give her license. Another thing that happened a couple of years ago now, once we had moved into the building at First Lutheran, there was a former member who decided that I'm going to shame them into giving me money, and so he goes to the Inquirer with a story about Reverend Della trying to buy weed or something like that. So again, you don't know who the thief is going to be in your life. What you do need to know is when is that you are able to withstand whatever comes, so that you may stand flat-footed for whatever comes up out of your consciousness, because it's out of your consciousness. There's nothing outside of you bringing it. But as you stand in the space of your spiritual identity, everything that is unlike your spiritual identity is going to come up against you. And you must be able to stand, to be still, and know that I am, that you are God. You've got to be able to stand in that. That takes work. Marvin says, did they say the same thing about Reverend Clifton Davis? You know, Marvin, I don't think I knew that he was a minister. I don't think I was aware that he was a minister. So that actually is news to me, but I imagine that that's true. They said things about Johnny Coleman. Here's the thing. As you move into who you are, the extraordinary version of yourself, they're going to say stuff about you. It's part of the process. And so isn't that the rain doesn't come. It's how do you stand up to the transformation that's happening inside of you. So what is your purpose? And she says this very clearly on page, I think it's 94, that there is an objective that embraces all your good. And that objective is service. When you get, give, when you learn, teach. Your purpose, heretofore we have thought of our purpose as what we do. So, my purpose is to be a dancer, or my purpose is to be a singer, or my purpose is to be an engineer. That's not your purpose. Your purpose is to be God in action. Your purpose is to express God. When you express God, you are in service to humankind. That's your purpose. Your dancing, your acting, your engineering, your writing, your whatever it is that you do, that's the channel through which you deliver your service. So please don't confuse service with purpose. Do not confuse service with purpose. Your service is don't confuse purpose with channel. Your purpose is service. Your purpose is to serve humankind. Your channel are the things that you do in order to fulfill that service. So that could be singing and dancing and writing and all the other multi-hyphenate, talent things that you have. But your purpose, no matter who you are, no matter where you come from, is service to humankind. And this is the thing. The greater the number of people that you serve, the greater your income. The greater the number of people that you serve, the greater your income. So if you were ever looking at how to increase your income, you want to increase the number of people that you serve. And you take the specialized knowledge that you have, whatever that is. So in my instance, the specialized knowledge that I have is knowledge of spiritual things, and being able to clearly articulate this spiritual philosophy and to teach it to whomever may come, right? That is my channel. To increase what comes in is to give to the greatest number of people that I can possibly reach. So you take your specialized knowledge and you share it with the world. Now, I used to, if I'm just telling the truth, have a problem with that, because I felt like, well, why are you bragging about who you're helping? Because that feels like something about that gave me the heebie-jeebies, right? I didn't like that. I felt like that's not what you brag about. And it's not about bragging about it, but it is that the law is give and you shall receive. If you are asking to be a millionaire, have you given away $1 million worth of service? You've got to set this law into motion. Or I shouldn't say you don't have to set it, it's already in motion. But if you want to consciously participate in it, you've got to give. So again, it is, when you understand what your purpose is, which is service, then you've got to start to put it into motion. And the greater the number of people that you serve, the greater your income. And that's just flat out how it works. So again, just for clarity, your purpose is service. Your vocation is the channel for that service. Your purpose is service. Your vocation is the channel for that service. And your vocation can be anything that you know what your vocation, quote unquote, should be, because it's the thing that drives you, that you're most excited about. Whether it is writing or speaking or caretaking, because there are people who are my sister is like that. My sister is a caretaker. In fact, if you get in the hospital, you want to be next to her, not next to me, because she is that person that will come to the hospital and take care of you and go home, go to your house and wash your clothes and clean your dishes. And I mean, that's just her talent. That's just one of the things that she is really, really good at. She is a caretaker, right? That's not me. I'll hire somebody to do those things. I know where my service has to be. So your vocation, there's a type of vocation that you're predisposed for. You like doing those things. So you like singing, you like writing, you like being an engineer and putting things together, you like being a lawyer and understanding the finer points of the law. Whatever, that's your vocation. And so your vocation is the channel through which you give your service. But make no mistake, it is your service that is your purpose, period. And so the channel can change, but the why of what drives you cannot. I should say, or should not. So what do I do once I know my purpose? Well, the first thing is do the work. Do the work. I love this. She says, no man becomes a saint in his sleep. I love that. No man becomes a saint in his sleep. If whatever it is you want to be a saint at, right? Because all a saint is, besides, as Donnie McClurkin would say, is a sinner that got up. The only thing a saint is the person who decided to dedicate themselves to a particular profession or vocation. That's all the saint is. And we use the term saint in a religious connotation, but we call them an expert or a boss in another, vocation. But the point is that the only thing a saint is somebody who says, you know what, I dedicate myself to this. I'm going to become the person that is the go-to person in this particular area. Let's say your area is early childhood education. I want to be the leading thinker in early childhood education. It's possible. You could do that. It's very possible. There's nothing in you that keeps you from being able to be that person. I want to be the go-to person, the foremost thinker as far as it comes to this new thought teaching philosophy. That's available. That spot is available. When they decide that they're going to ask questions about what does this community think, what do they feel, they're going to come knock at my door. That's available to you, right? But no person becomes that person in his sleep. You got to do the work. You've got to do the work. Whatever it is that you say that you want to do, you got to do the work. There's no substitute about this. That's why I use oops, I hit the wrong thing. That's why I use the little thing, no excuses. There's no excuse. Carve out a daily window to do your work. A daily window. See, you might be doing a job, right? So, for example, I have my church and I have a part-time job, right? So, but I have a daily window that I write because my channel for my service is best-selling author. So I have a daily window. Right now it's 30 minutes. Eventually it's going to expand, but right now it's 30 minutes. And I'm cool with 30 minutes. You carve out a daily window. This is what she says on page 96 and 97. You may say, if I could teach as my favorite teacher teaches, and if I could write as my favorite writer writes. I say that about Ralph Waldo Emerson. If I could do with words what he does with words, baby, how happy I should be. Do you think that your teacher and your writer attain their present states of proficiency by merely wishing to do the work that they are doing? Be assured that the excellence which you admire and should like to parallel has come through work, development of consciousness, and the application of consciousness. So as much as I love Ralph Waldo Emerson became Ralph Waldo Emerson because he wrote. He got up and he wrote. There's a video, and I meant to include it in today's blog post, but Ray, you drew my attention to it, and I'm so glad you did. I'd seen it before, but going back to it, Elizabeth Gilbert, who wrote Eat, Pray, Love, and some other books, a ton of other stuff. Anyway, she gives this TED Talk. She did it in 2009, and she was getting ready to publish the follow-up to Eat, Pray, Love. And she was talking about the anxiety of, writing and following up and out of this world success like Eat, Pray, Love. It became a movie. It starred Julia Roberts. It did all of these incredible things. So it's like now this next book is coming and there's all this pressure for it to be as fantastic as Eat, Pray, Love. Anyway, so she's she's giving this TED Talk and she tells about this poet who explains her creative process. And the woman was saying, sometimes I will be in the field and I'll feel it like a poem coming like a train, and the earth would shake under my feet, and it would come barreling through, and I'd feel it moving through me, and I would take out running to my whatever room is, take out running to my room so that I could catch it, and I would write it. And sometimes I would catch it, and other times it would keep passing through, looking for a soul or a mind that was open, and I would have missed it. But sometimes it would come through me and I would catch it by the tail and I would pull it back and I would write it out such that when it was finished, it was the exact poem but written backwards. And Elizabeth says, funny, it's like, that's what my creative process is like. Not. She said, mine is just, I'm the mule. I have to show up every day and slog it out. Every day I have to sit down and write. And that's what I'm telling you. You've got to do the work. I love the way Elizabeth writes. I think she's phenomenal. I got turned on to her years ago when she wrote an article for Vanity Fair. And she wrote about, she wanted to get closer to her male characters. And so she actually dressed as a man and tried and walked through life for like a week as a man so that she could begin to relate better to her male character. I thought that was a fascinating story. Anyway, so that article stayed with me. And my point being is that you got to do the work. The work doesn't just happen. The work happens because you make it happen. And so you've got to carve out daily time where you do your work and you make it a non-negotiable. Marvin says, parallel, how about to pass? I know that's right, Marvin. I don't want to just parallel Ralph Waldo Emerson. I want to surpass the work that he's doing. Thank you for that. Number 2, pay the price. Pay the price. What do you do once you know your purpose? Pay the price. Are you willing to pay the price to earn the prize? Are you willing to pay the price? Now, the prize is you fully realized in whatever your channel is through which you are delivering your service, right? So that's you as accomplished writer, you as accomplished inventor, you as a well-known dancer, whatever your thing is. Are you willing to pay the price? The price is you. The price is you. So you want to become BFFs with your purpose, and when you do, your faults will recede into the background. But let me tell you what I mean when I say the price is you. If you were the person you needed to be in order to have whatever it is that you want to have, accomplished author, best-selling author, well-known dancer, touted engineer, Nobel Prize laureate, whatever that is, if you were already that person, you'd already have that thing. So there's a transformation process. One of my colleagues says this. He says that people want you to help them be comfortable being caterpillars. And my job is not to keep you a caterpillar. My job, if I'm doing my job right, and this is part of my vocation. This is my service that I do this every Thursday night. It's pro bono. It is my gift to the world. My job, if I'm doing my job right, is that you no longer want to be the caterpillar. You no longer want to be comfortable where you are. What you want is the butterfly that you were always destined to be. So there is a process of transformation that has to happen, but you've got to be willing to pay that price. And there are parts of yourself, there are impediments in you right now that you're going to have to get past. So for example, Moses is going to go and talk and teach the Hebrew people and help free them from Pharaoh. So it isn't Pharaoh that has to let them go. They've got to let Pharaoh go, right? And so he's able to get them out, but there's 40 years in the wilderness in order for them to let Pharaoh go. So the price is that there's a transformation that has to happen in Moses in order for him to be the person. And the thing is that when he starts out, he has a speech impediment. And so he's like, when he gets the instructions, he's like, I don't speak too well, God. Like, I got this lisp, whatever. Let's say, I don't know what it would be, a speech impediment. Let's call it a lisp for this. And so he has these things that are his stoppers. And you've got that thing that's your stopper, whatever that is. And it's the thing that you're embarrassed about, or the thing that you feel makes you inadequate or not a good fit, or whatever that is. And the thing that you've got to do is to take your attention off of the ways that you are so-called inadequate and become BFFs with your purpose. Become BFFs. Make your purpose your companion. Make the service that you give to humanity your companion. Fall in love with that, because right now you're loving up on all the things that are not right about you. You need to fall in love with what is right about you, which is that part of you that gives selflessly, that part of you that shares because you just feel compelled to share. Make that your best friend. And if you will make that your best friend, it will make that transformation, it will make paying the price easier. But there's no mistake, make no mistake about it, you've got to pay the price if you want to be who you were designed to be. Number 3, what do you do once you know your purpose? Don't waste time. I love what she says. You have all of God's eternity to achieve, but you have no minute of time to devote to the second best thing. You want to choose the thing that will compel you to work even when you may be tired. So sometimes we have things that we're good at, but it's not the thing that we're willing to lose sleep over. Now, I'm not advocating poor sleep habits. My point is that even when you're tired, it's the thing that you want to do. So if you have not found what that is, keep searching. You have all of eternity to fulfill your purpose, which is service. But you can't afford to waste any minute to something that doesn't drive you from within. How do you know that it drives you from within? You're not worried about your fault. You're not worried about what you don't have right. It is that I must do this. I must share in this way. And if you haven't found what that is, that means you need to choose. You need to choose again. This is what she says. This is on page 98 and 99. You have all of God's eternity in which to achieve, but you have no minute of time to devote to the second best thing. Choose again. Choose what is dearest, fairest, most valuable of all things to you. Then let no argument prevail against your loyalty and your endeavor to that thing. Do not be flattered or argued into accepting what is contrary to that which has been given you. So you want the thing that you don't care for anybody else's approval about doing. Does this make sense? When you're choosing what is the channel through which I'm going to pour the presence and the power of God through, whether it is dancing, singing, acting, writing, engineering, inventing, being a nurse, being a doctor, whatever that is, when you're choosing, you want to choose the thing that if your mama disagree, if your daddy disagree, if your brother and your sister disagree, oh, well, I guess y'all just disagreed. That's what you're looking for. You're looking for the thing. What is that thing that I don't need nobody's approval in order to do? I'm not looking for anybody to co-sign on it, because if you're looking for somebody to co-sign on it, that's not your thing. If you're looking for somebody to co-sign on it, that's not your thing. You want to find the thing that you don't need a co-signer, you don't need a backer, you're willing to do it. You ain't looking to make sure you got it all together so you can get it done. It is that I must do it no matter what. That's your thing. And so this is why you can't waste time, because there's a transformation process that happens when you find what that is. And as long as you don't find what that is, the transformation process can't happen. As long as you're working on the thing that's second best, the thing that your mama wants you to do or you're doing and everybody agrees that that's a good thing to do, but it ain't what's driving you. It don't wake you up. You still need an alarm clock to get out of bed, right? That one, right? That's not it. You want the one that wakes you up from within, where it's like, woo, all right, y'all, I'm here, I'm ready, I got to get to work. This is it. And even if the people who mean the most to you don't agree with you, it wasn't for you to sign on anyway. That's what you're looking for. That's that, and the transformation, because there's a becoming that has to happen, right? There's a becoming that has to happen. You've got to become the person that can be the fully realized version of you as the writer, you as the director, you as the producer, you as the inventor, you as the engineer, you as the doctor. There's the fully realized version of you, right? But the transformation process don't start as long as you're working on the thing that don't drive you from within. As long as you're going for what is second best, second to the thing that drives you from within, the transformation is just kind of puttering along. There's some good work that's being done, because there's no such thing as just kind of standing still in consciousness. But that kind of leaps and bounds growth, right? That only happens when you find that thing. And you can find it. And you know it. You know what it is. If you just get quiet enough, it'll come to you. It's not a mystery. Number 4, compete with no one. Compete with no one. This is what she says on page 100. To attain your objective, you do not have to compete with others. Competition belongs to the fake world. Now, if you're new to this series and you missed the whole red pill, blue pill conversation, that is step number 4. Can you tell the real from the fake? Okay, so you can go back. That's on like the series. If you go to my YouTube channel, all the videos are there as a part of the series. Competition belongs to the fake world. And it is in that fake world that people feel like success comes to the one who outstrips all others. But in the real world, your aim is not to win at the expense of others, but to win at the expense of that part of you that still clings to the fake world. So you're not trying to best, let's say that you and I both teach spiritual truth, right? You're not trying to best me. You're not trying to outstrip me. You're trying to outstrip the part of you that thinks that you want to outstrip me. We are not in competition with one another. No one is in competition with one another. So again, when you know your purpose, because it's about service, and I can't serve the way you serve, and you can't serve the way I serve. People come to me for me, and they come to you for you. And so if you're busy trying to be me, you missing out on the one opportunity you got, which is to be you. When you know your purpose, you compete with no one, because your income is not determined by whether or not you siphon off somebody else's audience. Your income is determined by how best you serve your own audience. My sheep hear my voice. I'm not looking for somebody else's sheep to feed. And neither are you in reality. And so your work is on yourself. And what you are trying to do is change how you work. So the compete with no one is that you are trying to overcome the person inside of you that does not get up for service, that gets up because I got bills to pay. That's the person you're trying to beat. The part of you that still feels like and is still driven by trying to meet temporal needs. That's who you're trying to beat. So you're not competing with anyone outside of yourself. Compete only with the lesser versions of yourself so that you may dissolve them out of your consciousness. So that that part of you that wakes up and goes to work because you got to pay bills versus gets up so that you have another opportunity to be God in action. That's who you need to beat out. Compete with no one. And number 5, what do I do once I know my purpose? Win from within. Victory is first achieved within yourself. Here's the problem with fear. Fear opens the door from the outside. Fear opens the door to outside influence. Nothing dies from the outside, and nothing is won from the outside. Everything is an inside job. This is so important because when we try to explain like how governments fall or how companies fall apart, it is never because of outside influences. Remember, the thief never enters the house whose strong man knows himself to be a son of God. When you know who you are, you cannot be destroyed. When you know who you are, nothing can be taken from you. When you know who you are not even available to someone trying to do something to you. They can't find you. And so your winning has to be within. There's a verse in a Lauryn Hill song that says, how you gonna win if you ain't right within? There is no winning without being right internally. And to be right internally is to be working in cooperation with spirit. What your work, your true purpose is service. So when you work out of alignment with that, meaning you're not getting up because you're giving service, you're getting up because you got to go make, quote unquote, make that paper, right? You're out of alignment. Is as flat as that. And as long as you work in that direction, you meet with mixed results. You meet with results that match what's driving you from within. So the work, again, is to learn to win from within, because you do not die from the outside. You always die from the inside. It is, and that's true for you, that's true for governments, that's true for churches. It's an inside thing. If it's going to fall apart, it's going to fall apart because the inside didn't get right. So whenever you are working on something, the first thing you want to do is say, okay, what's happening on the inside? Because that's where your work is. So in review, what do I do once I know my purpose? These are 5 guidelines for living your purpose. Number 1, do the work. Create a daily non-negotiable for your goal. Number 2, pay the price. Be willing to become the you that can have your realized dream. Number 3, don't waste time. Let your passion become your alarm clock. Let your passion become your alarm clock. Number 4, compete with no one. In the real world, nothing opposes you. And number 5, win from within. Real victory is an inside job. And my call to action to you this week is adjust your work so that it serves the greatest number of people possible. Whatever it is that you're doing, shift the why. Make it about service. Shift the why. Make it about service. And the greater the number of people that you serve, the greater your value. Always look for how you can deliver value to people. Number 2, develop a daily non-negotiable toward your dream and track your compliance. Develop a daily non-negotiable toward whatever that is. So for me, that is writing. So I have a writing discipline no matter what, 30 minutes a day. No matter what. It could be midnight and then be like, you know what, I got to go to bed. And it's like, nope, I got 30 minutes. And I set that timer. Make it a non-negotiable and then track your compliance. Get a big calendar and put a check mark every time you show up for your non-negotiable. Every time you show up, put a check mark in there. Oh, I did my non-negotiable today, whatever that is. And number 3, leave a comment on this YouTube video with your results. Let me know how this works for you. Okay, Q&A. I can't believe I did that. Ha ha ha. I did. Oh, wow. We're at 8:48. Yay. I managed to not go over. Questions? Comments? Aha moments? Marvin says, what do you think about the concept of the higher self? Tell me what you mean, Marvin, when you say the concept of the higher self. You can unmute yourself if you want to.
Okay.
Tell me what you mean by that.
Well, it means different things to different people. Some people would equate it with your soul, but I think it means a little bit different than that. Some people equate it with your guardian angel, but it's a higher aspect of yourself that's closer to God.
So a couple of terms. So the idea of closer to God is suggests that there's a place where we're far away from God, and the way that we teach God in New Thought is that we are so indissolubly joined together that to say where I begin and God ends and vice versa is well, you couldn't. So the distance is only in awareness. And what we teach is that we have a Christ mind, or a Christ phase of our mind, where we do not know ourselves to be separate from God. And so it is through our conscious thinking awareness that we can tune into that part of ourselves that knows that we are forever joined with God. Or we can tune into the human race consciousness that says that, some people are good, some people are bad, evil is real, all of those things. So I just wanted to clarify about the closer. And when I think of the higher self, it would seem to suggest that there is a part of me that's separate from me. But again, there is only one, and that one is mind. And you will hear the term higher self and used in relation to the Christ, but as much as we can, I'd love to aim for language that does not suggest separation, because we're not separate from God, and we're not separate, and we're not different from God. So it's simply a function of where we tune in. Eve says, "This is my second time this week. Thank you for this great teaching." Thank you, Eve. Great to have you. Did that answer your question, Marvin? Or did that raise up any other questions?
It just means I need to do some more studying.
But the main thing is that reach for that which does not make you separate from God. And that takes work. You can be 20, 40 years into this, and that still takes work to not consider yourself to be separate and apart from God. Because when we talk about God, we use the term God, and we don't use the term God when we speak about ourselves. But it is, joined. No separation, no distance. Constance says, would that be the self within? Yeah, but again, it's still that same thing where and I don't know that we have language to suggest that would properly communicate how indissolubly, like you can't even separate it. Like you know how you can put oil and water together? That's generally how we think of ourselves with God, so that at some point you could strain off the oil from the water. But it's not like that. It like you can't, there is no separating. It is that intertwined. Malcolm says, "I'm sorry for the rudimentary question, but does being of service mean simply excelling at our skills that we have a passion for, or does it mean giving to or helping others in a way that we are making a sacrifice?" I think it's both and. I don't think it's either or. That the better I am. Okay, so I'll use myself as an example, because this is part of my service, what I do on Thursday nights, but also what I do with my church and my writing and all of that. I see that as my service. That the better I get, the more people I'm able to touch, the more people that I'm able to impact. I think about the writers that have gone before me, whose work I just love, and it is it is their commitment to excellence in whatever their craft is that made them that compelled them to produce works that, even though they have left this earth plane, even when I read them today, it does something in me to read their works. And the sacrifice, we did a whole series, Malcolm, on the spiritual law, and one of them was the law of sacrifice. And we think of sacrifice, so many of us run away from that word because we think of sacrifice as something that is where we're giving up something. But really what we're doing is we're giving love to what we find to be important. So for me, because my writing is important, and I make it a non-negotiable, and so I don't it happens no matter what. And so it happens to the exclusion of the kitchen getting clean. It happens to the exclusion of um, clothes getting washed. It happens, so because it's what is important. So it's what gets the attention, and the everything else is secondary to that. Um, because I know what it is when I read Ralph Waldo Emerson. We talked about possibly doing him at the end of the year for that 4-part series, and when I read him, it does something on the inside. I mean, he's just phenomenal. Or another essay that I love is James Allen's As a Man Thinks, As a Man Thinketh is what it's called. And when I read that book is perennial. I don't know what it took for him to write that down, or who he had to be, or who he had to become, but he's been gone for however many years, and those words are still with us, and they still empower us today, and we still study it in classes today. Or I'm in the middle of finishing Napoleon Hill's Think and Grow Rich, and it just, I mean, read that book. read that book. That book is incredible, absolutely incredible. So it's just one of those things where it's like there's a becoming that you have to be able to use as a writer, to use words to touch people at a soul level. And so part of it is I practice. I have my blog, and then I've got other things that I'm writing, but it's a process of becoming. And that when she says do the work, that it's the development of consciousness. So the development of consciousness is me showing up every day doing the writing. And the application is that that each day I'm trying to push myself to be better at the writing, that I'm not trying to stay at the same level, but that I'm constantly trying to see what are the new levels, what new techniques. Something that I watch that she does is that it makes you read the sentence differently. I'm going to look for one where I can tell you. There's a way. Okay, so normally you'd write a sentence like "You will never go to the store," but there's a way that she writes where she says "You never will," and it just shifts. It's just something that shifts, and I pay attention to that in the writing, and there's a way that it makes me feel, and so I started. In my blog post today, I tried out that element. So that's the application of consciousness, where you're experimenting. So if your thing is acting, it's that you're watching the greats, right? And you're looking at what they do, and let's say you admire Michael Caine, let's say, or I'm blanking on names for whatever reason, but you watch what they do, and then you start to bring in those pieces into your work because you're experimenting, right? So the development of consciousness is continuing to show up every day to practice your monologues, to get your audition pieces down, just to work on that stuff, to work on your tone, your inflection, the voices that you do, your accents, your things like that, right? But then the application of it is when you are trying to get better at whatever that is. So there's a discipline of just every day, something that you do every day that's your bottom line, that I don't go to bed without these things getting done. But the application is when it's like I'm trying to get better at this one thing. I want to master this British accent, or I want to master being able to cry on cue, or I want to. So again, but this is the work where you're continuing to show up. I hope that helps. Alita says, I like the analogy of fear opening the door to the outside. That's what it does. That's what it is. I thought I had brought the notes from something that she had written, but I couldn't. Oh, it's on page 95. Okay, so let me read these two things together, because I think this is fire. On page 94 and 95, the thief never enters a house whose strong man knows himself to be a son of God. I think that's key. The thief, they can't get in. When you know who you are, they can't get in. You never will. Oh, there it is. You never will be touched by direct or indirect suggestion after you have regained spiritual consciousness. The bonds that the thief would fasten on you are as ropes of water that spill out of his hands. Isn't that a good word picture? You ever think of a rope made of water? It's like it's such a beautiful word picture. You remain unfettered. No one can influence by suggestion without your consent. Fear is a form of consent. No one can influence by suggestion without your consent. Fear is a form of consent. When you fear, you consent to whatever it is you fear, you are afraid of. If you fear debt, you consent to debt. Acknowledgement of power renders you susceptible to the power that you acknowledge. So if you think, I don't know what your political leanings are, it doesn't matter because you're spirit being, but let's say that you are a Democrat. If you are a Democrat and you believe that Republicans have some kind of power, acknowledgement of that power renders you susceptible to the power you acknowledge. That's what you think that you can do to another, you will think that another can do to you. The cleansing that frees your mind from the secret ambition to control others also cleanses you of the fear that others can control you. I'm telling you, this woman is just, I love her. I just love her. She's amazing. Anyway, that's page 94 and 95. That fear, whatever it is that you fear, by fearing it, you open the door to it. Constance says the individuality that expresses through the personality, which is the same for all of us. Absolutely. Absolutely. Okay, so this was something that Elizabeth said, and I thought it was just powerful. And I'm going to post the TED Talk, but it's a TED Talk where she talks about the elusive creative genius. And there is this point where, well, let me back up. She's telling the story of these, I think they're Muslim, but anyway, they're dancing, and they're dancing in a circle, right? And the dancing just goes on. And then there's a point where one person steps out into the center, and they're dancing. They're not doing anything different than they've already been doing, but it's like this energy just takes over them, and it's almost like they take on this otherworldly feel, energy to it, and the people around are saying Allah, 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 like that's God, that's God, that's God. Not that person, but the spirit that is being channeled through them. And we felt that. It's why we go to concerts. It's why we like people like Beyonce or Celine Dion or Barbara Streisand or whomever, right? Whoever your person is, Andrea Bocelli, right? Is that when they sing, yes, there's the vocalization that's happening or the performance that's happening, but then there's this otherworldly thing where they touch you like here, and it's like that. I want that. And that is available to all of us. That is the power and the presence of God. But here's how you get to it. You got to show up every day. You got to show up every day. If writing is your thing, get your 30 minutes going, or whatever your thing is. Mine is 30 minutes. Get your 30 minutes going, whatever that is, because there is a point in the discipline of showing up every day where the Spirit begins to flow through, and you've seen it. You've seen it in different performances, like that. It's like that zone. I know you guys remember this. We're all over the age of 35. Well, except for June. But when you would see Michael Jordan play, and there was a point, and it would usually be towards the end of the game, and he would just turn on, and you couldn't stop him. And literally he would just come through the air, tongue out, and hanging through the air, literally, like it looked like he was flying through the air. And it's like, that's God, that's God, that's God. That's it. And that's what you work for, but it doesn't come without the discipline. It doesn't come without showing up every day. The drop of water from the ocean, which contains all of the ocean in a small, yes. Think and Grow Rich would be awesome. That would be really, really awesome. I got to figure out how to do that. And And Marvin says Andrew Carnegie challenged Napoleon Hill to surpass his record of achievement. Yes. Michael says, yes, thank you. Then as an actor, I am being of service by being the best actor I can be. 100%, Malcolm. 100%. Think about the people who touch us. Some of my favorites. Well, this young lady. I was thinking about this today because there's like this renaissance that's happening with like black dramas. So there's Empire and Scandal and How to Get Away with Murder and Power and and Being Mary Jane. And I was thinking, I was like, the woman who is not on the scene who can act all these women under the table is Kimberly Elise. And, I think about what, the stuff that she did in Beloved. And I mean, this girl's she's just bad, but there are different people that like that touch you. And there's something to their performance that reaches inside of you. And it connects to the humanity inside of you. And even though it could be a character that you deplore, but the person touches you in a way that just opens you up, right? And so that's what you're looking for. It's that, and when you find that, the reward for you is that the money comes to you, but you've done the work to be that guy. And it's where you continually dig. There's a digging process that happens to become that person. And it's people get tired. Many people get tired. Okay, last thing, and then I know I'm running over. How did I run over? There's a TED Talk that I was listening to earlier, and earlier today, and it was called The Transforming Power of Classical Music. So here's what I'll do. I'll send an email out to those of you that are on my MBH Insiders list, and I'll put the videos that I mentioned in there. But this is the Eat, Pray, Elusive Creative Genius from Elizabeth Gilbert, and then this video from it's a TED Talk, but it's about the transforming power of classical music. Anyway, this guy, it's a really funny talk, and he gives this talk where he's explaining, here's what a 7-year-old sounds like on a piano, and he plays it, and he's like emphasizing like every note, right? And then what happens in like a year, if they're practicing for a year, and then they're emphasizing every other note, right? And then they get to the 3rd year, and they're 9 years old, and they're emphasizing every 5th note, right? And then they get to age 10, and they're emphasizing every 8th note. And then there's something that happens when they turn like 4 years of doing this, is that they learn to emphasize different things. And so there's but at that point, most people give up at year 4. They never get to that 5th year. And so it is with whatever your craft is that there's a point at which you're emphasizing the wrong notes in what it is that you're doing. And the challenge is that because you're not paying attention and you haven't yet fallen in love with the craft, you get weary because you keep looking for the outside results to come. And you've got to take your attention off of the outside results and fall in love with the craft itself. And so it is from that transformative, from that continual digging, that you begin to touch the magic of what you're doing. There is a magic that is there. There's a magic that's a part of what it is that you are doing, but you've got to stick with it long enough to find the magic. And it doesn't just come, it comes because you continue to show up. So you got to continue to practice. You got to continue to do whatever it is your thing to do, and continue to dig. And most people weary through the digging process. And that's why you've got to shift and make it be about service, because as long as it's about paying your bills, or as long as it's about whatever your thing is, you weary. But when you make it about what it is that you're giving to somebody else, that fuels you. That makes it easier for you to get up and to keep going, even though in the moment you may be only touching 2 people. All right, y'all. Constance says, thank you so much for your service tonight. I can feel your passion and it touches me in a way that opens me up. And I so look forward to Thursday night because I know I'm going to be fed. I've got Vale now asking me about Tell Vale, come on over here to the Bible Hangout. Thank you guys so much. Thank you for being a part of this. Thank you so much. Thank you for showing up. I tell you, I'll do this. I'll teach it to myself if I have to. I'll get in the mirror like Reverend Mary and just, teach the mirror. But I appreciate the fact that you guys show up, and I thank you so much. I bless you. I release you in the love and the light of the Spirit, and I surround you in the Christ light, and I want for you, for your extraordinariness to come out into expression. You deserve that. You deserve the gift of seeing how amazing you really, truly are. Have a beautiful night. I will chat with you guys next week. We're on chapter 7, which is, oh crap, I forgot the name of the chapter, but it's chapter 7. So, all right, good night, everybody. Bye.